right, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Devin. I'll be joined momentarily by my friend Jose, and here he is. We will be talking about setting up your first e-commerce site. There's a lot that goes into that. So we're going to be covering a handful of topics, but let me just give you a little bit of background first. Okay, so as I mentioned, my name is Devin. I'm the field marketing manager here at Bluehost, joined by Jose, who's one of our talented web concierge, and we're going to be going through a handful of topics. But before we get into what we'll be talking about today, a few housekeeping items. So first things first, if you can hear us, go ahead and find the questions chat and drop in the questions. Put in your favorite scary movie, and if you don't like scary movie, your favorite fall activity, or as the slide says, your favorite emoji. Just let us know that that you can hear us and that our voices are conveying. If you have found that spot, then you found where you can ask questions throughout the webinar. Myself and Jose will be responding to those questions as we go through the webinar. But any questions that we don't get to or need a little bit more unpacking, we'll answer in a Q&A session at the end. Apple picking, bowling, fall, football. Okay, not a lot of, oh, alien, okay. Now here they come. Okay, good to hear that that you all are here to join us today and that you're fans of scary movies like I am. One last housekeeping item. If you do need help throughout the webinar, if audio cuts out for whatever reason, go ahead and mention something in the question box just to see if you're having an isolated incident or if it's something going on with the entire webinar. Most of the issues that we run into with the webinar platform can be resolved just by exiting the webinar and rejoining. So I would try that first. If that doesn't work, then you can always call the help desk for GoToWebinar and they should be able to help troubleshoot any issues that you might have. So let's keep going. All right, what we'll be covering today. So we're going to be covering a lot of material. We're going to be covering how to choose what you'll be selling, how to establish your company, how to actually set up your e-commerce platform, how to add products, connect to logistics like shipping and credit card processing, and then introducing discounts and promotions so you can start running your own sales. And then we'll be talking a little bit about marketing your business. So the idea is we'll be covering everything from the inception of the idea all the way to your first sell. So chapter 1, selecting what you sell. Oh, and also, just so that you all can focus on the content, I'm going to be turning off my webcam, and then we'll be coming back on towards the end of the Q&A. It's just easier for you to focus on the slides instead of looking at my face. Okay, so chapter 1, selecting what you'll sell. Now, I know that a lot of you probably already have an idea for an e-commerce store. Maybe you already have one up and running and you just want to get a little bit of tips and ideas on how to run things more efficiently, or maybe how to link up your logistics and your credit card. But I wanted to spend just a few minutes as we kick off to talk about some different ideas. If you're here looking for ideas on how to start your first e-commerce site, I'm just going to go very high level over a couple things. Here we have a picture of someone washing a car. Anyone that has a car probably has at one point or another either washed the car themselves or taken their car to a car wash. So just as far as ideation goes, there's generally two things that you can sell: products or services. Products obviously are tangible goods like a scrub brush or soap or drying rags in this situation. And services are going to be obviously services, you know, like if you wanted to do a mobile detailing business, or maybe an oil change business where you show up to the customer's house and change their oil in their driveway or in their parking lot, or a mechanic. The pros and cons of these, and I'll just go over this very briefly. The pro of selling a product is that most of the heavy lifting is upfront. Once you source the products, once you get all the items that you want, the fulfillment side of things, you're sending them out, and if you have a huge rush of orders, you can usually account for that with supply. With services, the product that you're selling is essentially your time. So it's if you get a huge rush of orders, it's a lot harder to fill that sometimes because it's just your time. That's what you're essentially selling is your time to perform whatever activity it might be. So if you do go with products, digital versus physical are two big things that we see sold as far as products go. And digital, the pro and con of selling a digital product, if you come up with a digital product, something like Adobe Photoshop or maybe an online course, once you've created that physical or that digital product, you can sell a ton of licenses. So you shouldn't have to continue sourcing that. The downside of selling a digital product is that you often have to continue to develop it to make sure that the digital product is up to date, that it's, that no one is finding any issues within the product that they can exploit as far as a hack or something like that. But oftentimes you're able to sell this at mass quantity with a pretty wide profit margin. With physical products, you have to have a little bit more of an investment up front because you have to buy the tangible good and then resell that or create the tangible good. So with that, you can buy in bulk and save on the price per item, but then you also have to store the items or ship them or find someone to do that for you. So if you do go with a product, you have to consider sourcing, and we'll just go over this as I mentioned briefly. We don't need to get into this in too much detail at this point. But when you're thinking about selling products, you need to think about how you'll be sourcing those products. Drop shipping is a very, very popular method right now because it doesn't require a ton of overhead. With that business model, you're essentially creating a storefront, and when someone purchases from you, that order goes directly to an external supplier and they ship the product to your customer's home. That means you don't have to pay for the overhead of a warehouse. You don't have to do a bulk order. You just basically have to market the product and be that storefront. The downside with drop shipping is that if someone has an issue with one of your products or if there's a slow delivery time, then you are essentially the one that's handling the customer, even though you might not be handling the product. So there can be issues with that. Bulk ordering, you can buy a bunch of items, such as like a cell phone charger, and you could store those at your house or in your garage or at a storage unit or something. And then you would essentially be the person responsible for packaging and shipping those out. And the last opportunity for sourcing, something custom made. I live in Austin, and there's someone here that makes beautiful custom made tables. They take a slab of wood and they pour epoxy into it, and they're beautiful tables. But because it takes a long time to make one of those, obviously it's really hard to fill a ton of orders if those come in. All of these just different business models, different ideas as you're thinking about how you want to come up with a good idea for what you might want to put on your e-commerce site. Now, once you have your idea, how do you evaluate your idea? I've thrown a couple different links here and a couple different resources that you can use to help with this. SimilarWeb.com is great for looking at your competitors. If there's a website or an app that you want to try to emulate or to get in competition with, then SimilarWeb.com is great. It will tell you how they're getting their traffic, what amount of traffic they're getting, and you can have a pretty good idea of how well you'll be able to step into that ring and compete with them. SEMrush and Google Keywords allows you to look at volume of search terms. So when people go into Google and other search engines across the internet, as they search for terms, they keep data on that. And so using SEMrush and Google Keywords, you can see the pure volume on what people are searching for. Google Trends is what we have a screenshot of here, and that looks at relative search volume. So as things are trending, if we remember fidget spinners, there's probably a huge spike. There's probably nothing, then a huge spike, and then that trend died off a little bit. I'm sure there's still some around out there, but that trend died down, so that would have been a bit of a spike. Here, just as going with what we were talking about earlier, I wanted to give a quick comparison between Austin Lawn Services and Austin Mechanics. So I mentioned I live in Austin. If someone is looking to start either a lawn service or to become a mechanic or open a mechanic shop, you could use Google Trends to take a look to see what people are searching for. And obviously the higher search volume translates to potential traffic to your website. So looking at this, I think I'd be more inclined to open a mechanic shop if I had the expertise and the experience to do so, just looking at this. But these tools can help you evaluate your idea to see if there's the traffic out there on the internet to fill the need that you're trying to fill in the marketplace. So once you've decided what you want your company to be, then you need to establish your company. Excuse me. And a question that I get all the time is, which comes first, the company name or the domain name? Should you buy your domain name and then try to make your company name that same thing, or the other way around? And I think it depends on where you plan on conducting most of your business. If most of your business is, say, custom made toys and it's a local store that you don't plan on expanding outside of the town that you live in, then perhaps getting a company name first and then seeing if the domain name is available, that might make more sense. But with a domain name, if you are planning on conducting most of your business online and you plan on selling all across the country or maybe across the globe, then I would probably look at getting your domain name first and then seeing if you can fit your company name into that, because you don't want to fall in love with a name or go and register an LLC or something like that, and then find out that the domain name is taken or that someone already has an existing website on that name. Okay, continuing on, I'm now going to turn it over to Jose so that he can go into the nitty-gritty of actually setting up your e-commerce platform.
Perfect. Thank you, Devin. Hello, everybody. So I'm going to show you guys how to add a product into your e-commerce. Now, before you can add any products into your e-commerce store, of course, we're going to need to make sure that you have the WooCommerce application. It's pretty simple to install. All you really have to do from your WordPress dashboard. Oh, 1 second here. Yeah, here we go. So all you have to do from your WordPress dashboard, you're going to go into plugins. You're going to go into add new, just like you see on the screenshot here. And then on the right-hand side of the screen, you're going to have a search bar. That's where you're going to type in WooCommerce. And it should look like this one. This first one that you see here, it says WooCommerce. It's got a 4.5-star rating, 5 million plus active installations. So you know that this is a trusty plugin that you can use for e-commerce. All right, so once you have the application, once you install it, then you want to also activate it. So in this screenshot, you see the installation process there. And then it's going to look like this. You're going to click that blue button that says activate. Perfect. So once you have the plugin installed and activated, if you look on the left-hand side of the screen here in this black toolbar, you're going to see that you have a shortcut for WooCommerce. And right beneath it, you're going to see products, right? So we're going to go to products, just like you see here on the screenshot. You're going to go to add new, and then you're going to click that pink button that says create product. Once you do that, it's going to take you to a screen that should look like this. It's going to ask you for the product name. In this example, I just left it empty, but just imagine, if it's a watch, for example, maybe it's a Fossil watch, right? You could maybe put in the name of a Fossil watch, and then I'm not very familiar with watches, so I don't know if maybe there's like a series number that goes with it or a specific name that goes with that watch, but that would all go here. Right underneath in this area that says product, service description, describe this product. And this is where I just typed that in as an example, but this is where you want to put in any information that's applicable to that product, any information that is necessary for the person who's thinking about maybe buying that product. For example, if we go back to the example of watches, is it water resistant, and maybe how deep can you go underwater? Is it leather? Is it gold? Is it silver? Things of that nature. Okay, so once we have our description there, you're gonna move on to this screen, and we're just gonna scroll down to this screen. It's gonna be the product data. In the product data, as you can tell here, you have the ability to add simple products, which is something like a watch. You can also do virtual products, which would be maybe like a class that's online. That's really popular nowadays, like yoga classes online and things like that. We've seen a lot of those. If it's a downloadable product, it's gonna be if it's like maybe like a picture or maybe like a song. Maybe you're a musician and you're selling your songs online, right? So you can select downloadable for those. In this case, it's just a simple product. It's a watch. So we'll leave it as it is there. Uh, you're gonna see regular price. The regular price is the price of that product. So in the example of this watch that I want to use, um, I don't know, let's say that the watch is $50, then you would type in $50 into this field. Now below that, you're gonna have the option for sale price and then schedule. This means that if you wanted to put this product on sale for, let's say, 2 weeks, right? Maybe something like that, or maybe even for like Cyber Monday, right? Maybe on Cyber Monday, people are gonna get $20 off this $50 watch. So then the sale price then would change to, let's say, $30. When you click schedule, it's going to open up a calendar, and then you can select the specific dates when you want this product to be on sale for those $30. And the cool thing about WooCommerce here is that once that date has expired, for example, if we only put it on sale for Cyber Monday, by Tuesday, it's going to go back to the regular price. It's going to go back to $50. So that's really cool. Uh, Feature that WooCommerce has here, just in case you forget. Maybe you forget that the product was on sale. You don't have to worry about it. WooCommerce will know, oh, okay, the sale's over. The watch is back to $50. Okay, excellent. And then moving on from that, the next step here, this is really optional, but I just wanted to point it out very quickly. This is just inventory. Using that watch example again, let's say that maybe you only have 10, maybe 20 of those Fossil watches that you're selling. If you wanted WooCommerce to keep track of your inventory, then of course you can come in here, create a SKU number for your product. You can select manage stock, and then of course select in stock. And then what will happen is once you start selling those watches, and maybe let's say you get down to 2 watches, then WooCommerce will notify you. It'll say, hey, you only got 2 of these watches left. And then from there you can either, whether you decide to, if you're going to have more watches available in the near future, or if you're not going to have any more of those watches, then of course you can just sell the last 2, and then what'll happen is it'll be out of stock. It'll no longer appear in your product list at all. Okay, and then moving on from this here, shipping is going to be really important here, especially if you're not going to be doing a flat rate. If you're doing a flat rate for everybody, no matter where they are in the US, then you don't have to worry about this. But if you're going to be charging shipping based on distance, location, and weight, then you definitely want to make sure that you put the weight and the dimensions for those products, right? So in the case of a watch, I don't know, I mean, they're probably not very heavy. Let's say that it weighs maybe 2 ounces. And then of course, you want to have the length, the width, and the height. And then that way WooCommerce will know how to charge the correct shipping cost for, let's say, somebody has a business in Austin, let's say. If somebody's in California, it'll be a different price, shipping price for the person in California, as opposed to someone who's closer to Austin. All right, so moving on from there, below that area that I was just showing you, you're gonna find the product short description. And again, this isn't super important, but I still wanted to bring it up. This is just additional information for that product. Anything that you feel is important detail for the person who's thinking about buying that product, you can put that in here in this area that I'm showing you. Next to that, you're gonna notice that there's the product image and then the product gallery. The product image is gonna be the primary image for that product. And then the product gallery is gonna be any additional images. So for example, if you have one image, really nice image of the product from the front, that could probably be the product image, the main image. And then if you have an image of the product from the side, or from the back, or whatever it is, you can add those in the product gallery. And I'm pretty sure I have an example here for you guys. This is what the result should look like once you go preview that product. As you can tell, I did schedule it for a sale there. You can see the sale badge. You can see that regular price is $50. It'll be crossed out. It's $30, right? So you can click on add to cart from there. So once you have your product, it should look something like this. All right, now connecting to logistics. This part, what I'm gonna show you first is the shipping. If you're gonna do a flat rate, that's gonna be the easiest thing to do. So I chose that to go first. And if you're not gonna do a flat rate, if you're thinking about charging by distance, then that's going to be the second part. It's not very complicated, but there's a little bit more that goes into it. So we'll start here with a flat rate. So if you want to set up a flat rate on your store and you're going to charge the same shipping cost throughout the country, what you want to do is you go to WooCommerce, you go to settings. From here, we're going to go into shipping, as you can tell from the screenshot there. And then the first thing that we'll need is a shipping zone, right? So we're going to click on Add Shipping Zone. And then, of course, in the example here, I just did United States. The zone region is United States. Now, if you're going to be selling to, let's say, the USA and Canada, you don't want to have Canada here in the same area. That's going to be a new shipping zone. So you will go back to shipping zone and then add Canada separate. Otherwise, the shipping is going to get confused. So in this case, we have the USA, United States is the region. And then right below, you're going to see the flat rate is enabled. And then for this example, I just did, let's say, I don't know, $5, but it could be $10, it could be 15, just depending on the types of products that you're selling. If they're heavier and you're gonna do a flat rate, then of course you probably wanna charge a little bit more. If they're not super heavy and it's not costing you that much, then you could maybe decide to do a little bit less than that, right? So once you have your flat rate here, then you're gonna click on Save Changes. So now I'm gonna show you the by distance cost, right? So you're gonna go to plugins, you're gonna go to add new. And then we need the USPS plugin. So in that search bar there, on the right-hand side, you're gonna type in USPS, like my example here. You're gonna get this result here. It's gonna say USPS Simple Shipping for WooCommerce. You're gonna install and activate. Perfect, so now we're gonna go back into WooCommerce and settings. You're gonna go back to shipping, but this time, if you look here, it's kind of tiny. It might be kind of small in your actual dashboard. This picture is a little bit larger, so it'll stand out a little bit more here. But you're gonna notice that we have an option here called USPS Simple, right? So we're gonna click on that. Once you click it, you wanna make sure that you enable it. Right now it's disabled. Once you click that checkbox there, it'll be enabled. Right below that, you're gonna need your postcode, which is gonna be your zip code. And then right below that, your user ID. So if you don't have an account set up with USPS yet, you would want to do that first, right? You want to go to USPS, set up an account. You're going to have a user ID. You're going to get that user ID. You're going to plug it into this random number that you see here as my example. Once this is enabled, then you're going to see something like this. And so here in this screen, this is where you're gonna select, the shipping costs that apply to you, the ones that you wanna offer, right? You don't have to offer all of these. I have these all checked, but of course, not everybody's gonna offer all of these, right? There's hold for pickup, there's keys and IDs, right? So some of these may not be necessary. You only wanna check the ones that you will be using for your store. Okay, this next part is connecting to a payment gateway. So whether that's PayPal or Stripe, or if it's like a direct bank transfer, which if it's a direct bank transfer, it's gonna be a little bit more involved. And what you would wanna do at that point, if you wanted to go directly into your bank account, you wanna talk to your banking institution and you wanna get information from them because every bank is gonna be different. So I know that PayPal and Stripe, and don't quote me on this, but I'm pretty sure that they charge about 2.9% per charge, and I could be mistaken there. It fluctuates, right? But I think right now it's 2.9% for PayPal and Stripe. And then every bank, they have their own prices, so it could be a lot different from PayPal or Stripe. Okay, perfect. So from WooCommerce settings, we're gonna go into payments here. We're gonna select it. You're gonna scroll down to the bottom. As you can see, my two arrows here are pointing to, from Stripe payments to get started, and then from PayPal to get started. I don't recommend the first choice that you see there. That first choice that you see there is very new from WooCommerce. Even though it says recommended, that's actually something that we're not recommending at this point because we don't know enough about it. It's very new. If you do want to try it, of course you can do so, but to make it simple, I would just recommend if you already have a Stripe business account or PayPal business account, select one of those two choices. Once you select the one you prefer, it'll take you to sign into that account. It'll connect to WooCommerce. And then from there, you're really set up to start taking those payments online. whether it's debit, credit card, right? You'll be able to accept any of that. Okay, and then now we're gonna move on to discounts and promotions. Discounts and promotions, what I showed you earlier in the product settings, this is a little bit different. This is gonna be for if maybe you wanna have not just a sale that's going on for like a day or like a week or 2 weeks. Maybe this is a coupon that you just wanna generate. And of course you do have the control over the time limitation and how many people have access to this coupon. So if you wanna set up coupons, what we're gonna do is go to WooCommerce, we're gonna go to settings. Also, I wanted to bring this up very quickly. So you can tell in my example here, enable taxes. If your products are taxable, make sure that you enable the taxes here. If they're not taxable, then of course you don't have to. Down below that, you're gonna see enable coupons. To enable the coupons, we're gonna click it here. Okay, great. So now we're gonna go back to WooCommerce. We're gonna go to coupons. And then from here, we're gonna click on the pink button that says create your first coupon. Okay, great. So on my example here, I have as the code for this coupon 123ABC, right? So this could be any number or letters that you want to select. It could be sale, it could be online sale, whatever you want to call it. But if you don't want to create your own code of coupon, WooCommerce will generate coupons for you, like the coupon codes for you. So right here on my example, you're gonna notice that I have my arrow pointed to generate coupon code. If you click on that button, it's gonna generate a random series of letters and numbers that you can use for your coupon. And then right below that, you're gonna notice in my example, I have 10% off entire purchase. This is just a note for you to keep track of your various coupons if you're gonna have several different ones available. This is to remind you, oh, okay, this is for my 10% off, this is for my 5% off. Maybe this one is a fixed cart rate for maybe just $10 off entire purchase, right? So that's, just to keep track of your various coupons there. All right, and then right below that, under the coupon data, you're gonna see general, discount type, and then you're gonna see that I'm pointing to a percentage discount. Now in that drop down, when you click it, you don't have to do a percentage discount. For this example, I just did a 10%, but let's say that you wanted to do maybe just $10 off entire purchase. You could select, instead of percentage, you could select fixed cart discount. That would mean the total that they spent on your store. Let's say they spent, $50 and your coupon is for $10, then they would be only paying $40 because they have access to that $10 coupon. Right underneath that, underneath the percentage discount, you're gonna notice that I have a 10, that's for the 10%. And then underneath that, you're gonna see that I have allow free shipping. This is entirely up to you. If you're gonna be doing, free shipping, then you don't have to select that because shipping's already free. I just selected it here for this example, but of course you don't have to. It's gonna be entirely up to you. Okay, so underneath general, you're gonna notice there's a tab called usage restriction. And this is gonna be basically if there's gonna be a minimum for the coupon, a minimum that I need to spend, a maximum. In my example, the minimum is gonna be $20. So whoever comes into my store, they gotta spend at least $20 in order for them to use that coupon. That means if they're spending $19.99, unfortunately, they're not gonna be having access to my coupon. So they gotta spend at least $20. For the maximum, I didn't set a maximum, but of course, on your store, depending on what you're selling, if you want to, tell people, hey, $50 is going to be the maximum here. Once they spend $51, then that coupon will no longer be valid. And then same thing with a minimum. If you want them to spend at least a specific amount, then you want to make sure you type that in there. All right, so the next one down here is going to be the individual use. Individual use means that if I have 2 or 3 coupons going on at the same time, and I don't want people to use all 2 or 3 coupons at the same time, then you want to make sure you enable that. That way they can only have access to the one of those 3 coupons that I have available. Underneath that, you're going to notice there's an option to exclude sale items. So this is if you have specific products that you don't want this coupon, to have access to. So again, on that watch, I'll use that watch example. I put it on sale for $30. And then once the sale is over, then they do have access to this coupon, right? Again, just worth noting that if you want specific items to be excluded from a coupon, you would select that, and then underneath, you're gonna be able to type in the name of those products. Okay, so the next item here is gonna be the usage limits. In this case here, for this example, usage limit per coupon is just 1. That means that they can only use my coupon 1 time. Limit usage to X items. Again, this is if you want specific items to be excluded from this coupon. And then underneath that, you have the usage limit per user. That means if you provided this coupon code to one person, that person can only use it 1 time, and that's just for them. If they share that coupon with someone else, then of course that person will not have access to it. It's just whoever you give access to that coupon, they'll be able to use it that 1 time. And then if you look on the right-hand side of the screen there, publish, that's where you publish your coupon. And then this coupon code will be valid for the general public to use. Okay, so that was my side of things here, and I'm gonna pass it back to Devin.
All right, thank you, Jose. And we had a lot of questions coming about that. I tried to get to as many of them as I could. We will make sure that we leave enough time at the end so that we can get some questions over to you, Jose. But in the meantime, if you want, you're welcome to answer a couple of those as we go through the rest of our slides. So, excuse me. Once you've created your store, you've added your products, you've linked all of your logistics, now you are ready for some traffic. You're ready for customers to flock to your website and to sell out of all the products that you have set up in your store. So let's talk a little bit about some of the ways you can do that. Now, every store is different, and so the right marketing blend is hard to say what exactly that will be, but I wanted to take a look at a couple different directions that I would recommend you go with your business as you start to look at marketing your business and working on getting traffic and increasing your sales. So one of the first things I'd recommend is looking at other marketplaces. Obviously, you just spent a lot of time and effort building your online e-commerce store, but that doesn't mean that you can only sell things on your website. There's a lot of other places that you can have linked to your website, excuse me, including Google Marketplace, which is if you just search for an item and then click on the subheading that says shopping, that's Google Marketplace. Obviously, you can sell your items in Facebook Marketplace. Etsy and Amazon are 2 huge marketplaces. And then depending on what your products are, local marketplaces like Farmers Market or Craigslist. Excuse me. And these are just different places where you can sell your items. E-commerce solutions, WooCommerce has a handful of built-in marketing extensions. So here we can see in our WordPress dashboard what a few of those are. Pre-installed, if you go into WooCommerce into marketing extensions, these are all listed already. Google Listing and Ads, we'll start with the second one listed here. This allows you to reach more shoppers and drive sales to your store. It integrates with Google to list your products for free and launch paid ad campaigns. So we'll talk briefly about paid ad campaigns in a minute, but basically this helps get your site onto the Google Marketplace that I was mentioning previously. MailPoet is basically an email campaign manager. So you can use MailPoet. MailChimp and Creative Mail for WooCommerce are alternatives. All 3 of those do really similar things, but it essentially allows you to create email campaigns for your online store. So I always recommend that you start building an email list, and you can do that in a variety of ways, but one of the easiest is just having your customers submit their email address when they purchase an item from you. So as they go through and they purchase, one of the checkout options is to put their email address and then have an option for them to receive future marketing communications, or if they'd like to know about upcoming deals or sales. You can also use email campaigns to Reach out to people that have previously purchased items from you and say, hey, you know, I saw that you bought this watch earlier. I'm wondering if you might like this bespoke belt as well or something. You know, other accessories or fashion items. You can use that as an upsell technique to increase your sales. You can also use it for newsletters. Depending on the style of your brand, you might want to keep your loyal followers in the know about different activities that you're doing or different movements that your brands are making. And you can also use it to let them know when you push out blog content. And content is a huge part of marketing. It allows your followers and potential customers to learn more about you and allows you to offer some unique ways for your potential customers and your existing customers to engage with your brand. On top of that, content is also a huge part of SEO, which is search engine optimization. And as you create more content that's relevant and engaging for your customers and your potential customers, the search engines take note of that, and that helps you rank higher when it comes to the results on Google and other search engines out there. Continuing on, I think a big part of marketing your business is claiming your social profiles. Basically, you want to get loud and shout about your new store, your new brand, your new products, your new items, your new service, whatever it is, you want the world to know. And right now, a lot of the world gets its information from social media. So Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, TikTok, maybe. I'm not hip enough to be on TikTok, so I'm not sure if that's a great place for brands, but I'm sure it's only a matter of time until someone starts using TikTok for brands. But all of the others, I would highly recommend going out and claiming the profile that matches your brand, even if you don't have any immediate plans to use that. Sadly, I've seen before where someone goes through the effort of building a store, they build their brand, they build a business, and then when they go to Instagram or Twitter to expand when they feel like they're ready, they found that someone has come in and taken their Twitter handle or their Instagram handle or their Facebook page, and then they have to either get into litigation to try to reclaim that from someone, or they have to try to buy it off of whoever owns it previously. And that's a convoluted and a complicated process, and it's much easier to avoid that. And the best way to avoid that is just to claim those profiles as soon as you can. And obviously, if you have the bandwidth to post content and to work on using these social profiles to strengthen and amplify your message, then that's even better. So once you've expanded your voice by claiming your social profiles, the next step, I think, let's see. It's not allowing me to advance to the next slide. Give me 1 second. Okay, paid ads. So once you have claimed your social profiles and you are able to spread the word and amplify your voice about the products and your store, then I think paid ads is a good place to turn. I've listed here 4 different places that allowed for paid ads, and it's important to know which one is right for you. And I think part of that is understanding your target audience. A big part of marketing your business is understanding who your product benefits. You know, come up with a persona, come up with an idea of who the buyer is for your product, what they look like, where they go online, how they find out about their information, and see if you can't meet them there. You don't necessarily have to do that through paid ads. You can do that through the social media profiles that we talked about before, but paid ads is definitely an avenue that you can consider. And the benefit of using these paid ad platforms like Google or Facebook, they allow you to be very specific with who you want to target. Specifically Facebook, you know, you can let's say you are selling a class on crypto investing. I know that that's a fairly hot topic in some circles right now, but you could join a Facebook group that talks about that. And if people have questions, then you can drop your Facebook, or you can drop a link to your website in there. And you can also create similar audiences. So you can take an existing audience on Facebook and say, hey, I want to target my ads to an audience that looks really similar to this. And Facebook will do all the hard work, and they will go out and present your ad to the target audience that you want. On top of that, they give you great analytics to let you know how well your ads perform. So as you go through and do that, you can continue to iterate, you can continue to improve on the ads and the promotions that you run on these different platforms. And you can find which ones perform better, which ones convert better. And I always recommend trying to run an A/B test, which is you offer two different ad sets, and you can see over time which one performs best. And as you do that, you can continue to run A/B tests, or you can just push more traffic or push more money behind the ad that performs better. So I know that's high level, but I think that's a great starting spot for how you can begin marketing your items and growing your business until you get your first customer. So I know that we have a lot of questions, so I want to leave plenty of time for that. Let me turn on my camera real quick. So I wasn't able to respond to everyone's questions in the question box. I love how engaged everyone was. So now we're going to put Jose on the hot seat and see how many of these he can answer. Jose, one of the main questions that people had, can you tell us what happens if someone already has a website and they want to install WooCommerce and they want to install a store? Can you tell us a little bit about how that process works and what goes into that?
Yeah, so the great thing about WooCommerce is that you don't have to recreate your website from scratch. You don't have to start from the beginning. If you already do have a functioning website, then WooCommerce will work with most themes. Now, the reason why I'm saying most themes, it's because, I mean, if you have a theme that was maybe custom built by a developer, maybe there's some code that went into it that we're not too sure, maybe it's limiting the e-commerce side of things, right? But if it's a regular WordPress theme, just any of the default themes from WordPress, then it's gonna work just fine with WooCommerce. So you don't have to start over. You can install the plugin and start adding your products and start the process.
So I may have misinformed some people in the answer section. So I'm going to allow you to correct me on this. I said that you may need to create a store.yourwebsite.com in order for WooCommerce to work. Is that the case? Or if I have a pre-existing site, we'll say austinlawncare.com, and then I install a WooCommerce instance, where will that show up on my website, and how does that affect the other things that are there?
Yeah, so once you have that plugin in your website, and again, we'll use your example that you're using for the lawn, you'll have the ability to configure the plugin just the same way that we did on the example that I was going through. In addition to that, one thing that we didn't really get into is that WooCommerce will allow you to create the various pages, like the shop page, where you're gonna have all your products listed, the checkout page, that's where people are gonna, check out and pay, and the cart page. And the cart page is where they see the services or products that they've chosen from your website. And so there's no real need to have a subdomain like you were saying, the store dot. That's only an option if you don't necessarily want people to come directly to your website and be able to click on shop. Maybe you want to have a separate space for it. Some people do that, but it's not very common. For the most part, you just have it all within the same website.
Okay, awesome. Hopefully that clears up a couple things. Continue to ask questions as they come in. We're going to try to get to as many as we can in the time that we have. But if we do talk about something that you have a further question, throw it in the question box and we'll try to get to it.
I did try to answer some of those questions during your your presentation.
I appreciate that. Okay, so let's see. Uh, this person here, it looks like Olena asks, what are the requirements for the product image size and the resolution?
Okay, sure, good question. So image size, you definitely don't want to have real large images on your website, no matter whether it's a product or just anywhere on your website. Images are real heavy files and they could slow you down. So for the size, the file size, you just want to make sure that you're anywhere in the megabytes, or I'm sorry, in the kilobytes. You don't want to be in the megabytes. You want to be in the kilobytes for size. And as far as goes dimensions, pixel size, you want to try to stay about 400 pixels by 400 pixels. That's a good rule to follow. That way your website will move at optimal speed.
Cool. Let's see. This person, it looks like Deborah asks, if you sell PDF files like a workbook, do you need a published hard copy version of it?
That's actually a good question. I do know that, I don't know if that's more of a legal question, but I do know that if it's a PDF file, you can definitely add it as a downloadable file. And whether it's maybe like a book, I do talk to people that they have like short stories and they just have those saved as PDF files. All they do is go into downloadable, they upload that file as a downloadable file. You just want to make sure that it's directly inserted into WooCommerce. You don't want that file to be like in a Dropbox or OneDrive or anything like that. It should be inserted directly into WooCommerce.
That's great. I think that answers another question that I saw and was going to ask you, but so thank you. You need to make sure that it's in WooCommerce, not a link to your shared drive or anything like that.
Right, exactly.
Okay, next question. Is there a limit on the number of product images in the gallery?
No, there really isn't. So most people will do about 4, but if you want to do more than that, if you want to have 6, 7, maybe even up to 10, then yeah, WooCommerce will allow for that.
Okay, awesome. The next question from Amy. For physical items, can you link with USPS or UPS to print paid postage labels? Is there some way to automate that process?
Yeah, good question. So you either want to use UPS or USPS for those labels. In addition to that, there's also plugins that you can use inside of WooCommerce or WordPress. You can go into plugins, add new in the similar manner that we did with WooCommerce in my example. And then you just type in shipping labels. You're going to get various results. I don't have one from the top of my head. I don't have one at the moment, but I do know one that will print shipping labels for you will be Jetpack if you have a USPS or UPS account.
Awesome, good to know. The next question is, can someone upload a video instead of a product image? Can they do a video that gives maybe a short description? I know sometimes you'll see that on Amazon or something like that.
Yeah, so unfortunately, WooCommerce doesn't have the capability to do a video description for a product as of now. For now, it would have to be an image. However, in the product description area, in the area where you give people details of this product, you can definitely place a video there. One thing that I do want to mention about videos, similar to images, videos are real, heavy files. They could slow you down. Make sure this video, if you want to put one in the description, try to keep it again in the megabytes for the file size, and maybe no longer than, let's say, maybe like 15 seconds. Alternatively, if you have a video that's maybe longer and maybe it's bigger in file size, you can insert it into YouTube or Vimeo and then copy the link from there and then bring it into the WooCommerce description so that people can watch the video, but it'll be coming from YouTube instead of from your website, which will not slow down your website.
Right, yeah, put all the heavy lifting on their servers, which are
Yeah.
finely tuned specifically for serving
For
up
that.
videos.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, next question. If I wanted to alter the style of the product page, could I tie in to the CSS and write or add custom styles?
Yes, definitely. So if you want to do that, if you're familiar with CSS, you feel comfortable with it, then yes, you can definitely get into the either the product page itself or the checkout or the cart, or you could even go into appearance, depending on your theme, of course. If your theme allows you to go into appearance, customize, and then down at the bottom, if you have the custom CSS option, you can also drop in your CSS into that, and it'll apply it to your pages.
Okay, awesome. Continuing on, is WooCommerce compatible with Elementor or other builders as well?
It is not. So WooCommerce is going to be separate from Elementor. If you do want to have more control over the style and the look of the product's pages, there is a plugin available called WooLenter. However, I do want to let you know that if you're planning on using WooLenter, you have to be careful because so WooCommerce, the way that they set it up is to work very simple, very similar to maybe like eBay or Amazon, where it's, here's the products, here's the product that I want, I'm gonna buy it, I'm gonna add it to my cart, and then I'm gonna proceed to checkout. If you bring in WooLenter and you try to get really creative and change things up, we have noticed in some cases it's been glitching out on specific things that you want to do to your product, right? So maybe let's say your colors or your fonts, they may change, they may variate. So yes, if you want to, you could do that. Just be careful and don't try to change the wheel too much. Try to follow the good simple rules of WooCommerce to make the checkout process as simple as possible.
Awesome. Okay, we're continuing with questions. Like I mentioned, people had a lot of questions. I couldn't get to them all, so we're putting you on the hot seat. Continuing on with these. Can you go over a little bit if someone wants to print on demand service? Can that integrate with WooCommerce? Are you familiar with that?
Ooh, print on demand, yeah. So you may want to think about something like Printful. I'm not super familiar with Printful. I do know that they're a service that's outside of WordPress. But if you're planning on selling like T-shirts that have maybe somebody's name or like a couple's name or something like that, or their pet's name, or even like a coffee mug that says maybe like best dad in the world or something like that, you would want to consider Printful. They're the ones that I do believe they connect with WooCommerce. And then when they go into your WooCommerce store, you'll have the ability to show your various products. Like for example, coffee mugs, they can click it and then they'll be able to say, oh, I want my coffee mug to have my pet's name or, my mom's name or something like that.
Okay, awesome. Can you talk a little bit about the fees to set up either the USPS account? I know you talked about the fees associated with payment processing, but as far as setting up the shipping account, do you know if that costs money in any way?
That's a good question, actually. I'm not sure. I'm guessing there's gotta be a fee involved, but it shouldn't be too much because I do talk to a lot of people and they do go to USPS, UPS, and they set up their accounts. But I really don't have a price that I can give you. Anything that I give you is just gonna be a guess.
No worries. We got another shipping question. Is it possible to offer free shipping? And is there a way to do that and still collect the relevant shipping information?
Oh yeah, definitely. So if you're gonna offer free shipping, similar to in the settings that I was showing earlier under WooCommerce settings and shipping, the flat rate, all you have to do is disable it. Once you disable the flat rate and the cost, you're gonna zero it out. It should already actually be a 0. I'm just thinking of my example where I had a 5. So if you set up a flat rate for $5 and then maybe you change your mind, you come back to it, you disable it, and then the price is gonna go to 0.
Okay, awesome. Someone mentioned they have a QuickBooks subscription, and someone else asked about other payment options. Can you touch briefly on those?
Yeah, so I don't recommend Square. I think somebody asked in the questions about Square. I definitely do not recommend Square. Square and WooCommerce, I don't know if it's WooCommerce who doesn't like Square or Square who doesn't like WooCommerce, but we've been noticing a lot of discrepancies. So Square is something that I would stay away from if you're thinking about using WooCommerce. Your two best choices are going to be Stripe and PayPal for WooCommerce. And then the third option would be if you want a direct bank transfer, which again, at that point, you would want to talk to your banking institution about that.
Awesome. Continuing on, if you enable taxes, I know that's one of the options that you can select. Will WooCommerce handle those calculations, or does that just give you another field where you have to then manually put in the taxes for each item?
Yeah, really good question about taxes, right? So we talk to a lot of people and they don't know what to do with taxes. What we typically say, and we're no tax experts, but what we typically say is if you're selling products out of, let's say, Austin, Texas, and that's the only place where you're selling products, then you should really be charging taxes based on Austin, Texas, right? So I don't know what the rate is there, but here in Phoenix, for example, if I'm selling out of Phoenix, then I'm gonna charge Phoenix rates, which I believe is like 7% right now, so like 7 cents to the dollar, I believe. Except for food, we don't have tax on food here. Um, but yeah, now if you have maybe multiple locations, right? Maybe you have a store in Austin, maybe you have a store in Miami. That's when we maybe recommend that you speak to a tax expert, because then taxes can get kind of complicated if you have someone that's buying from different stores. But if you only have one location, it's going to be very simple. You should only be charging tax based out of your city in your state.
I don't know this, but I'm going to speak out of pocket and say that it's possible that there's like a tax plugin. It seems like that would be a very popular thing within the WooCommerce economy to have something that helps individuals calculate taxes. So it seems like
There is.
whenever there's something like that, there's a plugin for it.
Yeah, there is definitely a plugin called TaxJar. TaxJar is a plugin that will help you also calculate taxes. And even TaxJar can get a little bit tricky. There's going to be a few things that they're going to ask you about your business, the products that you're selling. But yes, TaxJar is another good option. I'm glad you brought that up because I didn't think of TaxJar right away.
Yeah, for sure. What costs are associated with WooCommerce? Are there some features that cost money and is everything that you showed today, is that free or what should people expect when they're going into this?
Yeah, another great question. So everything that I showed you today is going to be 100% free. Uh, Only things that you're going to pay for is add-ons that WooCommerce Free doesn't, offer. Like for example, if I'll go into the shipping labels, right? You can either connect with USPS or UPS, or if you don't want to do that, I do believe that WooCommerce has a paid plugin that's separate that will also print those shipping labels. And I think they go based off USPS if I'm not mistaken, but they do have a plugin for that. They do have a lot of add-ons for very specific needs that you may need. But everything that I showed you, if you're just selling, basic products, t-shirts, flip-flops, I don't know, whatever it is, right? Uh, you should be able to do so within WooCommerce. It's only if you want some extras out of WooCommerce.
Awesome. Let's see. There was a question that just went by. Sorry, there were so many wonderful questions. I'm trying to make sure we get to all of them. We have a few minutes left. Let's see. Oh, that was the one I wanted to ask you. Does WooCommerce have a way to add an upsell feature when checking out? Is that one of the options?
Yeah, definitely. So I didn't get into this, but in the area that we were looking at below the place where you add the title and the description for that product, there's link products and there's also upsell products. So, in the example of maybe a watch, maybe there's another watch, or maybe there's like a bracelet that goes really nice with that watch. You could link them together so that when I'm buying that watch down below, I could see, hey, look at this other product. And if I like it enough, then I can add it to my cart.
Awesome. The next question that I have here, um, a couple people asked about adding Zoom links to their products if they're selling like a online class or something like that. Do you know, is there an easy way to do that?
Yeah, that would be set up as a either simple product where you're gonna provide that person with a link to go to that Zoom. Let's say they have a Zoom class, a yoga class, let's say Saturday at 11 a.m., right? You wanna make sure that they know that. And then when they buy the product, uh, WooCommerce will send you an email and say, hey, Jose bought the product for yoga Saturday at 11 a.m. Then you wanna make sure that you send me an email with a link so I can click on that link Saturday at 11 and be able to connect to that class. Alternatively, if you don't want to do it that way, you can select the option for um, there's downloadable, and then there's the it's escaping my mind, and I see it all day. Virtual product. In the virtual product, you have the ability to also drop in that link for the Zoom class.
Awesome. Someone asked if you have any recommendations on how to make the photo sizes smaller.
Yeah, you can use your own computer. If you have a Windows, you're gonna go to edit that image in your. Now, I'm not very familiar with this process, right? But in your Windows computer, you should be able to resize your images. There's gonna be the option to do so. If you have a Mac, I know Macs are really great about, photo editing and video editing. So they also should have a program inside of your Mac computer. But those are a little bit outside of WordPress. So I'm not very familiar with those. I don't really play a whole lot around with those settings. But I do know that your Windows or Mac computer will definitely give you the ability to edit your images.
Cool. That's great. Along that same line, and I know we're gonna have to wrap it up, so we're gonna try to get to 2 or 3 more questions, and then we'll probably have to call it a day. Someone asked, as an artist, how do I protect the imagery I'd be selling on my site? So if
Yeah, good
someone,
question.
yeah, someone wants to make sure that other people can't just turn around and sell their artwork right afterwards.
Yeah, right. So one way that I see people doing that, photographers or artists that do paintings, they do a watermark on their images. Now, that doesn't mean, and anytime that you put anything out there online, it's up for grabs, right? If I put up an image of myself, on Instagram or Facebook or on my own website, anybody could really go there and, just grab the image if they wanted to, right? But if you want to protect your work, definitely a watermark. If you don't know how to do a watermark, there's a lot of WordPress plugins that will do watermarks, and that's the best way that I see a lot of the people that I work with protect their work. So that if somebody goes to your website, maybe they don't want to make the purchase, and they somehow, do a right click and save the image. It's going to be watermarked. But even then, when you go to any website, you do a right click and you save the image. It doesn't save as the actual quality of the image because that's just a smaller version, right? So, but yeah, the best way is going to be a watermark to protect your work.
Awesome. Okay, I think that's going to bring us to the end today. Jose, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for everyone that tuned in. I really appreciate it. This is super informative and helpful for me. I learned a couple things, and we hope you did too. Jose, thank you so much for stopping by and helping us, and thank you to all that joined us today. We hope to catch you next month in our next webinar. Have a good day.